when he was in the Army, but he missed a few.
Professionally, he knows them all. Personally, the circle is much closer.
I have a lot of professional friends, but we don't hang out a lot together.
An exception was Bobby Darin, a friend Dick once counseled not to record Mac the Knife.
See, but you don't listen to your friends. I forgot exactly how I phrased it. I said, but you know, you're known as a rock and roller. You finally made it. You've had Splish Splash, Queen of the Hop, all these great kid-oriented records. What is this you want to be now, a big band singer? And I said it was a terrible idea. Thank goodness he wouldn't listen.
Look out, old Mac is back. Shake down, break down, take down.
Mac the Knife went to #1 in 1958. Today, it's Bob Seger's Shakedown. Whatever is current and cool, you can bet the kids will be dancing to it on Bandstand. And the oldest teenager of all, he says he'll keep clearing his schedule to do the show as long as the public accepts him.
I have a feeling that American Bandstand will stay on the television air as long as there is television. I will not be able to do that. I want to do it as long as people will let me, and then someday somebody else will do it.
It's American Bandstand. It is.
People say, there he is, America's oldest living teenager. And I like that. It makes me feel good. And I'm not a teenager. I'm many, many years beyond. I'm 57 years of age. And to be able to be in this arena and still be accepted is the greatest thing that could ever happen to me.
American Bandstand.
Next up, we'll meet a woman who calls the wild elephants of Africa her best friends.
Two of man's greatest resources are two of our greatest recreational playgrounds, woods and waters. Now celebrating the grand opening of their headquarters in Warwick. Just look at the package price on this 20-foot Renken bow rider or this Skeeter Strata. Take to the lake in this Alumacraft Deluxe or own the bay in this 23-foot glass room. By land or by sea, Woods and Waters Marine has it all, including the complete line of Polaris ATVs and snowmobiles. Join us for a grand opening celebration now at Woods and Waters on Post Road in Warwick.
Good evening, I'm Doug White. Seacon teachers and the school committee return to the bargaining table at 8 o'clock this evening following a back-to-work order. Newswatch 10 Night Beat reporter Mark Annick will have that story for us tonight at 11. And Fall River residents are at the polls tonight. They're trying to trim the ballot before the November elections. We'll have details on that story, too. Sports, Frank Carpena will have highlights of tonight's Red Sox game as they take on the Detroit Tigers. And Gary Lay will have details on his complete forecast for tomorrow. Please join us tonight at 11 for Newswatch 10.
Enter a world of legal eagles and future features on the next Entertainment Tonight. First, L.A. Law's Susan Day is on the road to success with her first Emmy nomination.
To me, it's always been one road that's gone up and down and just playing that way.
Plus, Jill Clayburgh, Barbara Hershey, Dennis Quaid, and Cher as Leonard Maltin looks at the new fall harvest of films. Coming up on the next Entertainment Tonight.
Tonight at 7:30 here on WJAR, Channel 10.
From the mountainous Abruzzi region of central Italy comes the inspiration for a hearty beef and pork pasta sauce called Classico d'Abruzzi. And because in Italy pasta sauces differ from region to region, from Naples there's a robust tomato and basil Classico di Napoli. And from Sicily, a zesty ripe olive and mushroom Classico di Sicilia. The regional tastes of Italy brought to America. Classico, authentic regional pasta sauces.
There's Johnny in the front there with the tuft about 7 inches long, and that's Joyce's son. Joyce is rubbing up against him now. Jolie wants to play. That's a play face. Here she comes. Hello, Jolene.
From the wrinkles on her trunk to her thickly curled eyelashes, Jolene is different from every other wild elephant in Africa's Amboseli National Park. Telling the animals apart would be impossible for most people, but not Joyce Poole. She knows each of these gentle giants by face and name, all 680 of them.
And over there's Ernie.
Besides playing matriarch to a group of the world's largest land mammals, Joyce is a scientist. She and her colleagues are among the world's foremost elephant researchers. She's studying the behavior of African elephants in the wild as part of her postdoctoral studies through Princeton University.
I came to Amboseli first in 1963 and was charged by an elephant. Then, I can remember it very clearly. And so So it seems very funny that I'm back here. I was so terrified of the animals then.
A few years ago, a Cornell University study discovered that elephants talk to each other. Much like whales, they talk with infrasonic sounds our human ears can barely pick up. What Joyce is trying to do is figure out what it is the elephants are saying.
They're very low frequency kind of a sound. And originally, people called them tummy rumbles because they thought that it was just the noises from the digestive tract. But in fact, they're made in the larynx. And we've identified 15 different calls. And so one of them is a greeting rumble. There's a lost calf call that's a rumble. There's a let's go rumble. He's announcing where he is to other musk males. And he's also calling to females. And the females, when they hear that call, will answer with very loud rumbles.
Elephants have a lot in common with humans. Just as no two human fingerprints are alike, no two elephants' ears are the same. That's one way Joyce can tell them apart. Also, elephants have a lifespan similar to ours. On the average, they live to be in their late 60s. They mature at about the same rate, and then you may not like this one, but in the elephant world, the females dominate.
So you'll have grandmothers, their daughters, and then their daughters' daughters, all living in one very tightly bonded family. The young females spend a lot of time taking care of babies, whereas the boys go off and roughhouse with other young males from other families.
Now, if angered, 5 tons of elephant can make mincemeat out of a Land Rover. But elephants aren't instigators. Unless they're startled, they're relatively harmless. You'd think that a creature this calm would have no enemies. Well, the elephants have one enemy, man.
People come in with automatic weapons and gun down elephants just for the ivory. I would ask everyone not to buy ivory. 80% of it is from poached animals.
Without running water or electricity, Joyce lives in this simple 5-tent camp tucked in a corner of the park. Her computer runs off the car's battery, and the Talking Heads music you hear comes from solar headphones. It's rustic, it's home, and most importantly, it's near the elephants. Joyce grew up here in Kenya, where her dad was the director of the Peace Corps and later the African Wildlife Foundation. Through him, she got into the animal world, but it was on her own she chose to stay. In the last 11 years, Jezebel's family and over 50 others have become her roommates, and what's more, her friends.
I don't see that I'm really going to give up elephants ever, or at least not turn my back on them. I've gotten a lot of pleasure and out of them, and I think I owe them a lot, so whatever I can do to make the public more aware of their plight, make them see how special they are.
We'll see you tomorrow, ladies. Good night, Jezebel, Jessica, Jill, Jolene,
By the way, Joyce says it is possible to have one of those Amboseli elephants named after you. All you have to do is make a contribution to the African Wildlife Foundation in Massachusetts. And, of course, the number will be on the info line, 401-224-1717. Stay with us. When we come back, we're rocking with some of southeastern New England's best.
What are you doing this weekend, Charles? Can't wait to see who's at the Toys R Us store. Jeffrey and his family will be waiting at the door. He-Man will say, how do you do? Cabbage Patch Kid, Kool-Aid Man, Teddy Ruxpin too.
In Warwick, Friday the 18th, 7:30 to 9. Swansea, Saturday, 2 to 3:30.
Charles, your weekend? Just gonna see some friends.
Toys R Us. You'll never outgrow us.
When you put on a creamery smile, you let the whole world know that the creamery's got the creamery ice cream. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner time, the creamery's a place where we'll whip you up a breakfast that'll warm your heart. Eggs, pancakes, waffles, put your yawns to rest. Start your dawn with a smile. Breakfast at the Newport Creamery. Listen out the smiles.
Together for the first time in television history, John Ritter, Gary Coleman, and Michael J. Fox
It's going to look great on my resume.
That's right, Michael. Channel 10 will fill your weekday afternoons with laughter. At 4 o'clock, it's Three's Company, followed by Different Strokes at 4:30 and Family Ties at 5. Come home to family fun weekday afternoons beginning at 4 here on WJAR Channel 10.
You know, a little earlier in the show, you mentioned American Bandstand and the fact that rock videos weren't around back then.
No, they weren't.
But today they are. I mean, they're everywhere you see. No band releases really an album.
Nope.
I guess a couple do, but most people don't release an album without having a rock video. So we decided, in celebration of our 9th year, we might as well get into the act.
That's right. We went across southeastern New England looking for volunteers to help us with our rock video. It seems like everybody wants to come out and say, yeah, 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 for their chance to be on TV. Watch this rock video. Take a look, see how many celebrities, friends, and family members you might spot, all in need of a little good love. Well, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that tremendously. One person I thought was exceptional, stood out from all the rest, Rudy Cheeks.
I thought you were going to say you.
No, no way. Rudy Cheeks is, I like the guy.
You know, I've been in trouble ever since we made the video, okay? I mean,
Why?
you noticed that when I did it, I was
holding... A lot of calls from Hollywood?
No, I was holding that dog.
Yes.
That's our producer's dog.
Yeah,
I had to use his dog, and my cat has been upset ever since we made that video. It was a lot of fun, though. We had a good time with it.
Be sure to join us tomorrow night on PM Magazine. We're going to take a tour of Rhode Island with a very special tour guide, Mayor Paolino.
We'll also take a look at what Governor DePrete likes to eat and where he likes to go when he's going on vacation.
Then life in any lane is becoming dangerous as more and more California drivers are coming under fire. Recent freeway shootings have motorists looking for drastic ways to protect themselves.
And by the way, Woonsocket, we salute you as we begin year number 9 and invite everybody to enjoy Autumn Fest here on the 10th, 11th, and 12th of October.
And then on September 27th, aside from being her birthday, it's a special day out here at the Stadium Theater. Chorus Line is coming to town.
I always wanted to turn 25.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for your Lotta Bucks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night.
That cool, refreshing
Hopedale Max.
We'll also talk with comedian Dom DeLuise and find out why he's transferred his abilities to commercial pitchman.
And then, have you ever talked to your children about the birds and the bees? Perhaps you're waiting for them to reach the right age. We'll find out what that is.
After your lottery numbers.
To get in on the fun, see your Rhode Island Suzuki Samurai dealer.
If you want to have a good time, don't look very far. Channel 10. Come home and make the right choice. W-J-A-R. Come on home. Come on home. Come home to your old friend. Come home. Make the right choice. W-J-A-R. Channel 10.
Last year, over 6,000 Americans died from fires. Many of those victims were children, and with a few simple precautions, many could be alive today.
Set an example for your family. Know how to spot fire hazards in your home, and know what to do in case of a fire. So pick up a free copy of the Plan to Get Out Alive Safety Kit at any participating McDonald's before October 11th.
It just might save a life.
Carol Burnett talks about her personal best tonight at 7:30.
Live from Channel 10, today's Rhode Island lottery number.
Good evening, I'm Brad Dexter from the Rhode Island Lottery. Welcome to the Daily Numbers Drawing. Your lead is 2. Second digit, 3. Third digit, with a 2. Final digit, is 8. That makes the complete sequence 2328. Don't forget tomorrow night's $1 Million Lotto Bucks jackpot. Have a pleasant evening.
With all his movie roles and commercial endorsements, it's no wonder that Dom DeLuise considers himself a working man's comedian. Tonight on PM Magazine, we'll see how his funny talents and outrageous characters have made him one of Hollywood's top bananas.
Then the subject of sex has always been a difficult one for parents to discuss with their children. But what's the best age to tell them? PM polls America to find out the right time to learn about the birds and the bees.
And behold the amazing King Tusk, the largest land animal on Earth, and the pride of Barnum and Bailey's Circus.
And it's all coming up on the Friday edition of PM Magazine.
From the banks of the Hopedale Pond in historic Hopedale, Massachusetts, good evening to you. I'm Rick Smith.
And I'm Sheila Martinez, TGIF.
That's right.
And thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. In our first story, we're going to talk with comedian Dom DeLuise. Now, he's been in show business for 25 years. He's been on TV, in films, and now he has a very successful career as a commercial pitchman.
He has sold everything from computers to diet programs, and he's having a lot of success doing it. But he says there's a secret behind all that success. I'm gonna
Hello, darling. Don't move. Bullseye. I'll get it.
I feel plain, but still, I guess I'm ready. I don't like to think of myself as somebody who is anything but a working comedian, you know, in touch with the people.
You were married 53 years. You had one kid. Maybe you're doing it wrong.
Maybe.
Did you ever work?
Just help my husband in the store.
Oh, yeah? What kind of store?
We have a food market.
A food market? We could be friends.
Yes.
He's been a working comedian for over 25 years, and his job is to make us laugh. On stage, in rehearsal, or hosting a high rollers party at Resorts Casino Hotel, Dom DeLuise is always on.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dominica the Great, and I am the greatest magician in the whole of worlds. Yes.
How did your character of Dominic the Great come about?
My father is a guy who was
very proud, positive, and always wrong. He would say, I'm going to fix the stove. Now, when you fix the stove, you usually take some soapy water and put it on a pipe, and if you get bubbles, there's a leak. But my father would say, I'm going to test the connection from the stove. And he'd get a match, and he'd go, and then the gas would burn half the wall up, and he'd put dish towels on it, and the dish towel, he'd say, shut the gas, oh my God, you know, and he would always, this is how you do it. It was wrong. May I have a drum roll, please? Watch it for the bird. Oh. Oh.
His ability to create laughter began during the early days of television. Back then, everything was live, and you had one chance to get it right.
His flying days are over. So I was able to become friends with this technique. Here's your makeup, here's your costumes, there's the camera, here's your words, go. On the way home, you say, what happened? What did we do? You just do it. Ah! I demand Novocaine! Whoopay Novocaine! Oh! Drill me, Doc. Drill me. Oh.
Dom DeLuise is always doing it. He is currently starring in My African Adventure, which co-stars J.J. Walker.
The film is about me, a little kid. I'm his guardian. We go to Africa. We go on a safari. J.J. Walker takes us out into the jungle. And we meet a monkey who becomes enamored with the boy, and he learns to talk. Not the boy, the monkey. The monkey talks.
There you are. Luscious lasagna. Your flavor and aroma.
In television commercials, Dom does the talking. His baby face has been seen selling everything from Ziploc storage bags to computers. And in the animated film American Tail, you may not recognize the face, but the voice is classic Dom DeLuise.
No, don't stop. More. And I meet all the animators, and they keep saying to me, oh, we love you so much because I make these noises, you know. I put you aboard. No. You know, so my character is supposed to say no, and I go, ooh, no. You know, I'm married to a wonderful lady, somebody that I love and cherish with my whole heart, a woman who has made a very big difference in my life. Carol.
You're involved in so many different things. Are you able to spend any time with your family?
I think it's very healthy for me to get involved with my children's problems and my wife's problems and my dog and my garden and my hobbies. And it's very nice to let the energy go out because then God gives you new energy.
He and his wife, actress Carol Arthur, have been married for 22 years, and she knows exactly what to expect.
Everything. A little bit of everything.
Manguinani.
He's Italian.
Manon.
He has every emotion under the sun that you can think of.
What's your first name,
Heidi.
Heidi. Well, I gotta get lost in the mountains with you.
He's sharing a lot of his life with people, and I think a lot of people get something from his sharing.
All right, everybody, grease up. It's time to go to the Taj Mahal. What a party, what a party. Here, have some jewels.
Dom DeLuise has been handing out jewels all his life. He's given us the gift of laughter, and when it comes to comedy, he will always be a king.
You work very, very long to trust your instrument. And now that I'm older, I have learned a lot from the people who have been around, and they just let it happen. Oh, it's so hard being in a harem.
Now, Dom says all of his eating experience will not go to waste, even though it went to his waste.
He sure did.
He's collaborating with his mom on a cookbook, which will be accompanied by a video.
Some of the recipes in the book are created by famous people, including Burt Reynolds, Lonnie Anderson, somebody named Reagan, I think, is in there as well. Stay with us on PM Magazine. Next up, when should parents tell their children about the birds and the bees? There you are. Enjoy your car.
It's been unbelievable. Barbosa Auto World's incredible layaway sale, that is.
Why, ever since we began our layaway sale 1 month ago, we've laid away more Fords, more Chryslers, more Plymouths.
More small trucks, more big trucks, and van conversions than ever before.
So we're adopting our layaway plan permanently.
That's right. From now on, for as little as $100, you can lay away the new car or truck of your choice.
Any car, any truck, any color, but only one dealer.
Barbosa Auto World. Layaway, the revolutionary new way to buy.
Down south, it's soda, and up north, it's tonic. But at Zare, it's just $4.96 a case, and at that price, I'd call it a deal. Zare, how little it costs.
This is very funny.
Really think so?
The word for this is delirious.
It's simply delicious.
You know that old expression, you are what you eat? But you're looking at a Hostess Twinkie.
No, I got it. It's Deloise.
The Dom DeLuise Show, a comedy series you can hug.
Sunday night at 11:30 here on Channel 10.
Hi, this is Jerry Jewell asking you to join with me in supporting United Cerebral Palsy of Rhode Island. They're making the difference for many persons with disabilities. For information on local programs, call 728-7800. They need your help. Thank you.
In bodybuilding, it takes a lot of strength to go all the way. But there's something that takes even more strength than this. And that's saying no to drugs. Get tough. Be strong. Say no to drugs.
For more information, call Marathon House at 401-331-4250.
The way I learned about sex was from my mother. The way she would sit down and talk to me was like with a Bible.
For most parents, telling your child about the birds and the bees is one of the hardest parts about raising a child. And with a growing concern over teenage pregnancy and the fear of AIDS, sex education and how to go about it is one of the biggest issues facing parents today.
My mom never told me, and I didn't grow up with my father, so I never really had somebody like, you know, a man to teach me about it.
But how do you begin to tell your kids about sex? Many parents suffer from guilt, fear, and silence. Since many of our parents never told us about sex, we're not sure how to approach it. In fact, according to Planned Parenthood, 2 out of 3 parents have great difficulty talking about sex with their child, and almost 20% never do.
Parents are shy. I mean, it's very difficult to talk about these kinds of issues because we tend to build it up, and parents need a lot of support in talking about these kinds of issues.
Dr. Martin Greenberg is a family practice psychiatrist and author of Experts Advise Parents. He and other experts feel that sex education begins at home and at an early age.
They can start giving information when the child is 2 and 3. They will ask all kinds of questions, and I think it's important to develop an attitude that it's okay to ask questions and okay to give information.
The first thing to know is that babies are made by grown-ups.
Now, a number of educational materials, including videos and guides, are available to parents and children to make the learning process easier. And these tools are becoming more important as studies indicate that children who have never discussed sexual feelings and decisions with their parents are more likely to satisfy their curiosity by experimenting.
A lot of people talk about it, but you know, a lot of times they don't really know.
First time I had sex, if you could call it sex, it was really like a zoo, you know.
The school, I think, is a partner with us in the education of our children.
As America's 40 million school children head back to class, more of them than ever will be taught the facts of life. Many states now require sex education, and Surgeon General C. Everett Koop urges sex education for kids as young as 9, and that we should teach it with a sense of responsibility and morality.
The theory class was so incredible today. We actually talked about AIDS and sex. Come on, Jenny, don't...
A lot of parents feel that sex education has no place in the classroom. Yet if our kids don't learn it at home or in school, American teens will learn what they want to know by rumor or in the streets or from friends. But most of all, they'll learn it from television, and that's not always good. And this Madonna video may have been a hit with kids, but not with parents and sex educators. It showed us that teen love can lead to teen pregnancy.
There's at least 500,000 unwanted teenage births that happen a year, and probably a million teenage pregnancies.
But parents and teachers now have more on their hands because of the fear and spread of AIDS, and the Surgeon General recently made a controversial call to combat AIDS through sex education.
There's a lot of wrong information going around about AIDS, and that's dangerous.
So we've heard from experts and seen how important it is for parents to talk to their kids about sex. But at what age is it best? According to our poll, 7% of you said at age 10, 15% of you said 12 years old, 18% said ages 8 to 9, and 58% of you said you should tell your kids about sex when they ask. Well, experts think if your child is not asked by age 5, you should introduce the basics of reproduction, using correct anatomical terms such as womb instead of stomach. By age 9, menstruation, intercourse within marriage, and sexually transmitted diseases and AIDS should be talked about. Also, introduce your own values of relationships and sex. And by age 12, give more details on body changes and talk about dating. The general rule in talking to your child about sex is to be honest, prepare yourself, and even admit your nervousness. Talking about sex doesn't lead to promiscuity. Most importantly, let them know you welcome their questions about sex. Because, according to the experts, you're the best teacher your child could ever have.
As you might imagine, teen pregnancy is one of the biggest concerns in our society. And teenage pregnancy is skyrocketing. For example, in 1984, the Census Bureau reported that 56% of all teen mothers gave birth out of wedlock. Now, that's a staggering figure when you consider that in 1960, the rate was only 15%.
It still is a tough subject to bring up with your kids at any age. Right now, we'd like to tell you more about where we're standing right now. This is called the Little Red Shop, and it's located just off Hopedale Pond, and it contains many of the original looms, which were made at Draper Mills.
Stay with us on PM Magazine. Next up, we have a treat for adults, comic books written just for you.
Enter a world of classic comedy and super sci-fi on the next Entertainment Tonight. First, comedian Carol Burnett gives you a sneak peek at the side-splitting sketches in the new video collection of her personal best.
Then we'll check out why Hollywood's biggest stars tell the biggest fibs about their age.
Plus, we'll go to the source to see if the new Star Trek will live long and prosper on the next Entertainment Tonight.
Tonight at 7:30 here on WJAR, Channel 10.
How do you feel when you meet a blind person? Uncomfortable? Ill at ease? You shouldn't. We need opportunity and understanding, not pity and all. We work and play, hope and dream, just like you. For information, call your local chapter of the National Federation of the Blind, or contact me, Kenneth Jernigan, Executive Director, National Federation of the Blind, 1800 Johnson Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21230.
A lot of people who are married are not monogamous.
Blood is now considered to be an infectious agent.
If you're going to have sex with this disease around, you have to take precautions to stay alive.
We can't guarantee anything. I know I'm going to die.
On a special edition of Our Magazine, AIDS, the heartbreak of a nation.
Every heterosexual should be concerned.
Monday morning at 10 here on WJAR, Channel 10.
What you are looking at is the ivy-colored Bancroft Library in downtown Hopedale. A very well-stocked library, but probably would not have any of the literature we're about to talk about. I'm talking about comic books. Now, it wasn't so long ago that you could walk into any store, look on the magazine rack, and find a whole selection of comic books. But nowadays, kids have better things to do, like home video. So sales of comic books, yes, are falling.
I mean, talk about a competitive market. Kids can rent videos or turn on the TV set, take a look at cable or your regular network channels. And so the comic book companies, they're a little worried about their sales. So they've changed things around and they're going back to the original market. So comic books are not just for kids anymore.
It used to be that every kid in America read comic books. The adventures of your favorite characters would provide hours of entertainment. But times have changed. Today, for a couple of bucks, you can rent a multi-million-dollar movie to play at home. It's not surprising that a lot of kids just lost interest in comics. So to survive, comic books had to grow up.
Nowadays, hardly anyone in the big picture reads comics.
So it's a very fan market. It's an esoteric market now. People that read comics are the people that want to, that enjoy the medium. It's not just because that's the form of entertainment available.
Bill Willingham knows today's comic reader. He's the creator of The Elementals. This comic book chronicles the adventures of 4 superpowered Seattle youths who fight crime from their Mercer Island headquarters. Now, I know this sounds like a typical superhero comic for kids, but Bill approaches the stories with the more mature reader in mind. While plenty of comics are still being made for kids, many of today's comic creators are working with more adult themes. That's because more adults are reading comics. Mike Brell shares a studio in Seattle with Bill. He's been a writer and an artist since the early 70s. He's worked on all kinds of comics, but the comics he's created for adults are the ones he's enjoyed the most.
Professionally and artistically, I find a great deal of satisfaction in working in comic books in this day and age, because I'm able to write the kind of stories I want to write, do the type of drawings that I want to do, and essentially gear it to the audience that I want to reach, which is basically myself.
Mike's latest project is a new comic book starring an old character, Green Arrow. This hero has been around since the early 1940s, but he's gone through some changes. He began as a carefree millionaire. Disguised as a Green Arrow, he fought crime with his young sidekick, Speedy. Neither of them had any superpowers, so they chased down criminals in an arrow car and apprehended them by using their skills in archery and a variety of trick arrows. Unfortunately, life isn't as simple for today's Green Arrow. He lost his entire fortune, and he and his friend Speedy, who got involved in drugs a few years back, have split up. Worst of all, Green Arrow isn't popular with today's kids. So DC Comics, the publishers of Green Arrow, have called on Mike for help. They're convinced his real-world approach to comics will make the character popular with adults.
There are no supervillains in this book, no costume villains, no superpowers involved in any way. It just happens that the leading protagonist wears this weird costume and carries a bow and arrow around the streets.
Those streets may look very familiar to Seattle readers. The first thing Mike insisted on was that the character be moved from his longtime home in Star City to the real city of Seattle.
Get the clock in, get the farmer's market sign in.
Mike goes to great lengths to portray Seattle realistically. He and his assistant, Lorene Haynes, who draws the Seattle backgrounds, spent a lot of time researching the area before they started the project.
I think the reason that this will have an appeal to the readers is that traditionally over the years, comics have dealt with make-believe. And if you can incorporate a character that someone has ordinarily associated with fantasy into a real-world situation, it wakes everybody up. The story is geared essentially for an older audience, one that will not be offended by storylines dealing with real-world violence, real, genuine human sexuality or sensuality, and real-world language.
Adult-oriented comic books may raise a few eyebrows, but they're also raising sales figures. Mike's Green Arrow series will be released in a deluxe format that sells for $3.95 a copy. Prices on other deluxe comic books can go as high as $12.95. As a result, comics today are a multi-million-dollar industry. They're selling better than any time since the 1940s and 50s, which was considered the golden age of comic books. So if the trend continues, comic books should be around for a while, entertaining kids and adults for generations to come.
Next up, meet King Tusk, the biggest animal under the big top.
Waiting just beneath the surface are man's greatest adventures and deepest fears, where the hunter becomes the hunted, and every breath could be your last. So get in over your head in the all-new Sea Hunt, starring Ron Ely as Mike Nelson, and introducing Kimber Sissons. If you can take the pressure, take the plunge. And don't miss the thrill of the all-new Sea Hunt.
Sunday at noon here on WJAR, Channel 10.
Give my regards to Broadway.
Yes, give your regards to Broadway and join us for Trinity Rep's 24th season, devoted to our Broadway heritage, featuring popular works by Eugene O'Neill, Tennessee Williams, Kaufman and Hart, and contemporary plays like The House of Blue Leaves and the musical spoof Little Shop of Horrors. So give your regards to Broadway. Subscribe now to Trinity Rep and see more than 2 plays free. Be there.
Get ready to rock your socks off with Solid Gold in concert. That's when you'll come up close to the hottest music on the charts today. There's the sultry sounds of Smokey Robinson. Mother and daughter Judd with a country ballad. Jody Watley with a new dance hit on the club scene. And Cutting Crew with a sizzling love song. All live on stage plus classic rock. And special guest host Lisa Hartman on Solid Gold in concert. Starring Marilyn McCoo.
Tomorrow night at 7 here on WJAR, Channel 10.
If you had to wonder where you'd sleep tonight, if you'd eat tonight, where you could play that's safe and clean, if you had to spend every day of your life lonely and bedridden, running from trouble or abused by the people you love, if day after day you just fought to exist, never knowing how it feels to really live, you'd be thankful that someone cared enough to show you a way out. Where there's a need, there's a way. The United Way.
The greatest show on earth is a traveling menagerie of performing animals. But there are animal stars, and then there is the biggest animal star, King Tusk. Tipping the scales at more than 14,000 pounds, this guy is big. Your average pachyderm is just 7 or 8 feet tall. This showstopper stands over 12 feet tall, with tusks 6.5 and 7 feet long. King Tusk is an Asian elephant that came from Thailand in 1947. Producer Kenneth Feld pursued Tusk for 10 years before finally buying him for the show. His trainer and best friend Lee Keeney became part of the deal.
He bought the elephant, he bought me too.
Every day, Lee feeds his big buddy 300 pounds of hay, 25 pounds of grain, and then snacks on 100 pounds of apples and carrots. That's Tusk, not Lee, who is too busy keeping the curious away. You see, Lee is also King Tusk's bodyguard. There are strict standing orders from the circus boss that forbid pictures of Tusk out of costume.
He's our star. He's our drawing card. We don't want people to see him, you know. We want them to come to the show to see him.
There are some problems traveling with this big brute. He doesn't fit on the train, so he travels in a specially built 45-foot truck. And he almost doesn't fit in some arenas, which causes problems for the ringmaster, finding new expletives to stretch the intro to the King of Tusk.
I think the best thing that I've ever said about him was, it was in New York City, and I said, the colossal, the magnificent, the jewel in the crown of India, the largest land mammal traveling the face of the earth, the 8th wonder of the living universe, the indescribable. And the whole company fell apart because that's what I just spent 5 minutes doing, was describing him.
Now, in case you're wondering, that robe that King Tusk is wearing, 80 pounds.
Well, now we have a little history for you. The history of Hopedale is rather unusual. It was founded as a socialist utopian society in 1841 by Aden Ballou. He was a far-thinking man and a philosopher. He actually corresponded with Gandhi and Tolstoy. And the church you're looking at behind us, the Unitarian Church, was where he was the first preacher.
This is one of those towns when you go through it and you say, this is New England. And if you have any questions about anything you saw on the show tonight, just buzz us on the info line at 401-224-1717.
And be sure to join us all next week on PM Magazine. We're going to be starting it off with Raquel Welch.
Is Raquel changing her sexy image? Well, next week we'll find out as she tells Marilyn Beck why her good looks can sometimes be a detriment.
That's our show for tonight. Have a good weekend.
And we'll look for you Monday night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Carol Burnett gives you a sneak preview of her new video cassette on Entertainment Tonight, coming up next here on WJAR, Channel 10.
Offering residential loans throughout New England. With Grossman's, the home improvement project store, with 92 years of experience in helping do-it-yourselfers do their best. And with Winter Doors, Windows and Moldings, distributors of Peachtree, quality doors and windows in the Northeast.
Hi, I'm Bob Vila. Welcome to this old house, our 1785 New England classic, a beautiful antique that we're getting ready to restore. Today we'll take a close look at the structure of the house with Norm Abram, our master carpenter. And we'll get together with Rich Berthui to examine what passes for mechanical systems. And we'll have a visit from Mariota Stevens, an architect who's had a lot of experience with old houses such as this. So don't go away.
This old house is made possible by Weyerhaeuser, providers of building materials, services and other products that help Americans live better at the same address. Weyerhaeuser.
You know, this is a classic Yankee farm. It's been here for 200 years, and they never threw anything out. So I can't wait to get into that barn and take a close look at what's in there. Old farm implements and stuff. But at some other point. Right now, let's meet with Bill Dromgoole, our homeowner. Hi, Bill.
Good morning, Bob.
How are you?
Good.
What are you up to?
We're moving.
No kidding.
Yeah, as you know, we have a 6-month-old daughter, and we're very concerned about all the dust and everything that a construction project would raise.
I think you're wise, but where are you going to move to?
We were very lucky. We found a house to rent right here in the neighborhood, and we'll be able to come to the site every day.
Fabulous. So we'll also be able to do all the work in there without having to worry about your belongings.
Right, and there'll be no lead. There's lead paint in there and asbestos, and I don't want anybody exposed to that.
Yeah. Now, you had to move real quickly when you found this house, didn't you?
Yes, we did. That was our commitment, to move quickly.
So you didn't have a chance to have a professional house inspector come through?
No, we didn't. Ordinarily, we would have, because it's the best thing to do, but in this case, we couldn't do it. We had to buy it on intuition.
But what about termites and pests? Did you have an inspection done for that?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
There's a slight problem, but it's not significant.
A 200-year-old house. Well, I think you're going to be in luck today, because Norm Abram, our carpenter, is just pulling up your driveway.
Oh,
and
great.
He's had a lot of experience looking at old New England structures. Hi, Norm.
Wonderful.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Good.
What do you think of this place?
This is quite the place.
Yeah.
How old is it?
1785.
Great.
Meet Bill Dromgoole, the new owner.
Hi, Bill. Nice to meet you.
Hey, why don't we get started and show Norm the exterior of the place?
Great.
Let's take a look over here at this little porch, Norm.
Well, one thing that seems clear to me is that the family who owned this house did some pretty ingenious things to save some money and maintain the house.
The same family owned it for 200 years.
Is that right? Well, that's probably why. I mean, I can see things right off. We've got this little porch here, and if I look underneath it, there's still original joists and a couple little patches and splices down there. But look at here, they just put a 2x4 to keep it from falling down.
Yeah.
Does the job.
It's an oddball porch. It used to be a whole porch, and then they, at some point, built a mudroom here.
We've had some problems, Norm, with this bulkhead in the water.
Well, I can see why. You know, this is the old wooden bulkhead doors, and these are not original. They've probably been replaced several times.
Yeah.
And when it rains, the water can run right in through these joints and even between the boards. So I'm sure you get quite a bit of water right in the basement.
Yeah.
Look at this. This is a great example of the type of repairs. A piece of wood to patch probably a rotted stringer rather than replace the whole thing.
Yeah.
Put some new treads on it.
But Norm, they mitered the corner.
Well, they took some time to do the job, you know, properly.
Yeah.
Norm, what about overhead here? We were thinking about caulking that, maybe nailing it back.
Right up over here?
Yeah.
Well, you've got a problem. There's a problem, first of all, with the roof. It's probably leaking, and that's why it started to open up. The ice gets in there and forces it open, and it's gone on for so long that it started to rot. So the only way to fix it is to solve the roof problem, and then replace all these moldings and soffit boards.
Will we be able to duplicate that molding?
In this case, we can get that molding pretty easily. That's just a standard crown molding.
But the brackets are in good shape, and they're important.
That's right.
What do you suppose that chicken wire is doing in front of the transfer?
Well, it was probably, they had problems with birds making a nest right here because it's a shaded area, nice and cool.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think the door's original to that entrance. Look at the notches up on the corners.
No, this is actually, if you look at the inside, this is a relatively new door.
Yeah.
And they just notched it to fit around the corners.
They probably bought it secondhand or brought it from someplace else.
Yeah. And what do you suppose this is for, Bob?
I think they used to leave messages there for the mailman and delivery people.
A little clothespin. Great idea.
Come on around this side. Let's take a closer look. See any problems right offhand?
Well, for one thing, a lot of old houses, we have problems with foundations, and from the outside anyway, we see that we've got a good solid foundation.
Granite, right?
Granite right here above grade. And the grade is low enough that we probably don't have any problems right here with any insect damage in the sills. But look at this.
Yeah, what do you suppose that's?
Well, this is an old pipe that leads to some kind of a drain, and more than likely it doesn't work because it's clogged up with silt and everything.
Yeah, but this was a fancy house. It did have conductor pipes to take all the rainwater from the roof away from the house into a drain
That's
field.
right, and that's one of the keys to having good solid structures, to keep that water away. And they went through a lot of trouble, look, even taking shingles and wire to wrap it around the pipe and a piece of flashing to direct the water in there to keep it working.
Oddball approach, but it can still be put back together in working order. What about, I think that all the clapboards on this house are original. We've been looking at them closely. What do you think?
I think so, too, because if you look closely at where they're joined, they're skived, which means they're cut at a very sharp angle so that they overlap one another rather than just a butt joint.
Can they be saved, Phil?
Well, I think in any case we want to save as much of the siding as possible. Where it's good, scrape off the paint and repaint it. Where the clapboards are seriously damaged or split, we can replace those.
Yeah, and I think it's really the only facade that has a lot of the original 1785 siding on it.
Nice little bay window there.
Yeah. Now look at this, the money facade, the front facade. What do you say?
Wow, it's in great condition. The west side of the house doesn't get all that heavy weather, and the siding is in good condition, although the porch...
What's caused these problems?
Well, you can see everything is just rotted away, and there's probably insect damage. Now, it looks like they did a good job originally when this was installed. It's sitting on stones, and there's stones around the perimeter, which means they provided some good drainage. But over the years, with leaves and grass, everything starts to build up around it, so that the soil, when it rains, it just gets saturated, and that water just gets sucked up by the wood, and then it just rots away. So
Plus age and wear.
That's right.
It does wear out occasionally. That can all be replaced.
That can be replaced, and today we've got treated lumbers which can survive in an environment that is close to the ground.
For the structure.
We'll be able to save the roof.
Definitely. We'll save the roof, shore it up, and remove this and rebuild a new porch. But we've got to do a lot of work up on the eaves here. You can see right there, the gutter, it's open 1/4 of an inch. And it's sort of the same situation we had around the corner. Ice damming and water forces everything apart, besides the fact that the porch settled, because it's rotting, starts to pull open the joints. And, you know, the theory today is to do things in as few joints as possible. So when we replace this gutter, we want to try to get like a 40-foot piece of gutter so that there's only one joint. Same thing goes for like moldings and fascia boards. Look at here. We've got a 3-foot piece of molding, a 3-foot piece of molding, then they got maybe an 8-footer, and then a little 6-inch piece.
Sure. What's that molding called, Norm?
That's a bed molding.
Yeah.
And, you know, things came short back then because it was difficult to get lumber in very long lengths. So today we want to do it with long pieces.
Fewer joints.
And I assume we're going to save these, are we going to save these columns?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They're in pretty good shape. It's just the bottoms that have to be repaired a little bit.
Okay.
Let's take a look around here.
Now, this is the north side of the house.
Over here on the north side, Norm, the clapboards seem to be in pretty good shape.
We noticed from the cellar that part of the sill in this corner had been replaced.
Along that side. Oh,
Up to about here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they should have continued with the replacement of the sill because this water table is all rotten. Now it's about half thickness. Actually, it's ready to fall off here. And, oh boy, the boards are all rotten.
What a
and
disaster.
about half of the sill looks like it's gone, although I don't see any active insects in here.
What caused all this damage?
Well, probably the problem was, like, on the other side, you had about a foot of distance between the wood and the grade, and here we're up to, well, we were up to within about 2 or 3 inches.
Yeah.
And being the north side, I imagine that the snow would pile up against it.
You're absolutely right. When we saw it, we had snow up to the windowsill. It seemed like it would never melt.
Yeah, but when it did melt, it probably saturated this wood, and there probably was some insects in there, and it just rotted away.
Yeah. Well, this whole northeast section of the house is where, if you stand back and you look at the whole mess, you wonder if there haven't been Weatherbees here fighting the weather for a couple of centuries.
It looks like we've got 2 sections of the house coming together, and because of the way the roof line is, a lot of water comes down there. It looks like they've tried everything. I mean, they've got an old bulkhead door, troughs, and down to leader pipes. They got one here, one there, one there, one way over there, and they're trying to find some way to fight off all this water that comes off that roof line.
Yeah, this is really amazing, though. The collection of troughs and boards and other aids to navigation here. It's
And
hilarious.
and despite that, I guess they still had a lot of water splashing down here because they put patches over the siding, which probably means it's rotting out. And they've got metal here to try to protect this corner from constantly being soaked with water.
Yeah. You get the picture, Bill?
Yeah, a lot
I think
of
there's
work.
going to be a lot of work to do around here.
But, you know, despite all those pipes and everything, I don't think they solved all the problems because if you look at this corner board, it's all loose and the boards look pretty loose and rotten.
Really? Do you think there's going to be replacement needs
Yeah.
in there?
But if you look way up at the top, you can see that the board is opened up and the water is probably getting in there and just filtering right down through this wall.
You know, I wish you'd get up there and take a look on the L section of it. I was checking it out from the inside the other day. There is a little cubbyhole door that you can get in under the eave. And you know what we found? About a half dozen old containers, old crocks, old tin pans, anything you could think of that's stuck under there that keeps the rainwater that kept leaking in.
So they've got
put this for you.
They've got some serious problems. Well, what they've done, it looks like they figured that they had these leaks, so they put some tar paper over whatever other roofing surface was here, and then just put hot tar over it.
Yeah.
And up here where it meets the house, they've got a board here, and there's probably a metal flashing which has deteriorated over the years, and they just filled it with this tar, hoping that it would not leak, but I think it still is because that doesn't last very long.
Yeah, and look behind you. Isn't that the oddest gutter you've ever seen?
We've got a problem with water here, and they nailed a board on the front of this gutter.
Oh, is that it?
That's
That
right.
wasn't the right thing to do?
They took a piece of clapboard, hoping that they could slow down some of the water coming off the roof. But by doing that, when it freezes up in the wintertime, it raises the water level up and actually makes it easier for water to force its way into the eaves, and that's why we have a lot of this damage and the damage down on the corner.
Is that what they call an ice dam?
That's right. Very typical for New England.
Come on down here, Norm. I want you to see the L back here. Now, this building back here seems to have been added on. What do you suppose it was used for, Bill?
It was unheated space, and we found kindling and wood there for the wood-burning stove, some small tools. Apparently, they might have brought a car in there one time.
What do you think?
Well, by being an additional building for storage, probably, it's, you know, it's strong enough to serve its purpose, but it's not like a...
But it's
super
lightly built.
That's
yeah,
right, very
yeah.
lightly built.
Got a few problems over here related, I suppose, to the use that this end of it had.
What
right?
is this, anyway?
This was a privy, a 3-hole privy.
Oh, great. Well, we'll...
Long time ago. It's all rotted away. Look at that up there.
That's the ventilation shaft for the privy room.
Isn't that neat?
Hey, that's
Keep
great.
fresh air.
Let's go around the other side, and I'll show you the inside.
Well, Bill, this is a great piece of property.
Thank you.
I really envy you. Especially about this barn. I could use a place like that for a storage area and a nice workshop.
After what you've shown me this morning, I wonder if I should consider selling it. The whole place.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a nice place.
Hey, getting back to this little back L, notice how it's really just sitting on a pile of rocks, and that's about it. We were looking at this door, and it's probably salvaged from one of the real early buildings around here. And I mean, we're talking old stuff here.
Yeah, boards just right on grade, and of course the foundation being that it's just dry stones with no mortar, it caves in after a while. They even put some wire here to stop the animals from
Keep the
getting in.
raccoons out.
Yeah.
Get a family.
And you can tell that the structure itself, well, it wasn't originally here as this shed. It was originally something else, part of another building, most likely. Look at all this.
It's a nice post and beam construction, though. You know, they've got good-sized posts and good-sized ties across there. What do you plan to use this for?
You know, Norm, it's a lot of space, and we'd like to use it somehow. We were thinking of a family room or a family room with a kitchen. What do you think? Would it work?
Well, you're going to have some problems. First of all, if you look up at the roof, even though we've got nice big beams in here, the roof structure itself is way under the code requirements for today. And this floor, you know, you really don't have a floor. It slopes about a foot. It could be done, but it would be a major project.
Well, let me show you.
There is no floor, you know. It's just boards on the
On
dirt.
grade, right?
Let me show you what we're using for a kitchen now.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, you got to step lightly in here, all right?
Okay.
This is all original 1785 farmhouse. I imagine it got remodeled around 1910 or 1920. Paint jobs, so.
Yeah, there's a few repairs that have been done and added.
When we're looking at this corner over here.
Oh yeah, there's a little bit of a, obviously some kind of problem here. This window has dropped about an inch from this side to this side, and then actually the ceiling continues to drop into this corner.
Yeah.
So we might have a problem with the sill down there, or possibly the foundation. And that should probably get looked at from the outside when we start the repair work.
Well, we're basically in the L that you climbed up on a minute ago,
Right.
remember? And so we know there's a lot of problems
On that roof, right.
But what do you think of the flooring?
Oh, it's got some real old linoleum over the old pine, original pine floor. I can see the pine floor sticking out.
This is an old
But
board,
it's loosened up, and wood's probably pretty dry after 200 years.
A lot of character in that.
In the linoleum, right?
Optimist.
And fairly simple trim details, but all different door heights. We got one here, one up here, one down over here. But they're in pretty good condition.
Yeah, they're beautiful doors. Then the major remodeling that took place in the mid-19th century, I think around 1848,
in this
is
area?
represented in this area.
We were concerned here about, seems to be a slope in the floor, and whether that was a severe structural
Yeah, this front
problem.
hallway seems to have a kind of a bump actually in the middle of it. Now here's a toy here. This is perfect. Use a ball or something. Right, now that does go downhill.
Kids will have a great time in the front hall, really.
Is it a dangerous problem? Is it so structurally significant that it's going to fall
It's
in?
gonna fall. No, I don't. The idea is that if you want to keep the character of the house with the little dips and sags like here in the hallway and in some of the other rooms, leave it there.
Right.
We can jack it up,
Oh, no.
but it's not necessary.
No, we love it. It gives us a sense of history. And if you know these families have been in here and in and out.
Sure. What do you think of the staircase, Norm?
The staircase is in great condition. All the joints are nice and tight here, which tends to indicate that it hasn't gone anywhere for several years, and that we should just leave it alone.
Let's take a look upstairs.
Sure.
I just love the handrail, though.
That's a beautiful condition.
Impeccable.
A little oil and it'll be good for another 200 years. Oh, all
Now,
right,
these
nice.
front rooms are really nice spaces.
They all.
I don't know about the structure, though. I mean, don't do that again. No. Oh, no.
They all tend to go towards the center, which is almost every house I've been in like this. They all look like this.
Yeah.
So.
And yet that ceiling manages not to collapse, and you know the floor seems.
Well, the wood has flexibility in it, and if it's been here for 200 years, it's going to stay here for another 200
Great.
years.
I'm glad to hear it.
Now, I want to look in here because this is this closet area. Oh, we've got a chimney here, I see.
But this is the outside corner that we were talking about a few minutes ago. When you and I were outside at the bottom of this corner, that's where we've got all that water damage.
I mean, that's that eave that's opened up, and the water's getting in there, and it's starting to seep in through the wall.
Oh, I think it started back in '55.
Probably.
Yeah.
We really got to do something about that, because that corner post could be severely damaged.
Right.
And behind you with the chimney damage that we've got, you can see creosote starting to leak out, and that's probably because the heavy use of a wood-burning stove or water is starting to get into the chimney, and it's just leaching through the bricks. And if you're going to use this as an operating chimney, we really got to do something with that.
Reline it, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Now that you've seen the whole house, what do you think?
Well, you know, we could come in here and gut it out and rehang all the doors and make the windows straight and straighten all the floors, but you wouldn't recognize the place.
Now, some people talk about bulldozing the place over, but we really like it. It's got a real sense of history, and I know that it's labor intensive, all this work. But that's the labor of love.
Right.
It's a beautiful building, and we love it.
Well, if you want to save it, then that's what you're going to have to do. A lot of labor and scraping and working hard, and you'll get the job done.
And a lot of money. Now, you had a chance to get together with Rich Trethewey
Yeah,
and
we
check out the mechanicals.
We did. We talked to Richard this morning.
Okay, let's check that out.
We've got lots of questions for you down here, Richard. For openers. What is this? Does that have something to do with the water?
You are right. It looks like it's the old well tank. This would be where the water for the house was stored. Before city water supplies were available, obviously the house had a well out and back, and the water would come into this tank through this well pipe.
How'd they get it upstairs?
Well, now you have to force it up, so they had to have some sort of pump, whether it be a hand pump or an electrical pump that would create a charge of air and would force the water up through the pipes.
What do we do with it now?
There is zero salvage value. So you could make this one of the world's biggest planters.
It's a lot of geraniums.
Yeah.
And what about these tanks over here?
You've got, looks like two 275-gallon oil tanks.
Why would they want two?
Probably because they didn't want the oil truck to be parked here every day. They wanted it every other day, maybe, because of these guys over here. You've got, first off, you've got an oil-fired gravity hot water boiler, which means it doesn't have a circulator pump. It originally was coal-fired. The homeowner would have come down in the morning, stoked it full of coal, done his thing all day long, and then come back at night and stoked it again.
What do you mean by gravity fed? What is
The water is heated, and it gently, because hot air wants to rise, it gently rises up through the two supply pipes and then falls back through the return pipes because the cooler water wants to drop. So it's very comfortable, very gentle. You don't really know it's on. That's not the only thing that's eating up that oil, though. You have behind it for hot water an oil-fired water heater. Now this house originally, I'm certain, made its hot water from a range boiler on top of the kitchen.